So what's the difference between our long-term goals and our short-term goals? Well, it's in the name, but typically a long-term goal is going to be usually at least a year out, more like 5, 10, even 15 years. A shorter-term goal could be something we want to accomplish this month, something in the next 90 days or the next 6 months. And typically those short-term goals are going to be subsets. They're going to be smaller little pieces along the way toward accomplishing those longer-term goals. So how do we actually set long-term goals? And maybe more importantly, how do we accomplish those long-term goals? Well, first and foremost, you want to have a vision of the life that you want to create. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And what do you want to have? One of the best ways to figure out a plan of action and to have that motivation to go after longer-term goals is to create a vision board, to have a visual representation of something that can inspire you and motivate you on a regular basis as you go after your long-term goals. The reality is, the further out the deadline on the goal, the harder it is to stay motivated. And so the more that you can surround yourself with external motivators, the more likely you are to accomplish those goals. So to accomplish our long-term goals, we've got to break them down into smaller bite-sized pieces. We often say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Hopefully nobody is actually eating elephants. But we want to break big goals into smaller bite-sized chunks. So just like short-term goals, our long-term goals should also be SMART goals. SMART's an acronym. The S stands for specific. We want to get as specific as possible about those long-term goals. Again, the further out they are, the harder it is to create specificity because sometimes it's fuzzy. So get specific with what we want. It's been said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 or 10 years. Your longer term goals might be something like achieving a certain level in your company. It might be purchasing that dream home or the family that you want to create. Maybe you have a long-term goal of being to a certain weight, a certain fitness level. Within the next 5, 10, 15 years, you want to be in the best shape of your life. Maybe you've tried that before and you've failed. That's okay. A long-term goal helps us to establish a picture of where we want to be, but we want to break it into smaller bite-sized pieces. So get really specific with what we want. Then you want it to be measurable. We want to have actionable steps that we can take toward those goals that we can actually keep track of and measure progress toward. We want it to be attainable. Now, longer-term goals, sometimes you want to dream big. You want to think bigger than what seems attainable, but you still want it to be in that framework of knowing if I do the things that I can control toward this goal, it is achievable. You want it to be relevant, in alignment with your vision, who you want to be, and what kind of lifestyle you want to create. And then you do want to have a time frame in place. Is it truly a 15-year goal, or is it more like a 5-year goal? Is it a 5-year goal, or is it actually a 1-year goal? So putting that timetable in place will help you come up with an action plan to accomplish those big long-term goals. So tracking our long-term goals, making sure that we're actually on track toward accomplishing our long-term goals can be pretty tricky. Shorter-term goals tends to be a little bit easier to identify exactly what I need to do, exactly how much of it I need to do, and exactly how long I need to do it. For example, if I want to lose a certain amount of weight, I can probably put myself on a workout plan and a meal plan within a certain time frame that's going to help me get there. But if that's a 5 or 10-year goal, I don't know about you, but talking about or counting macros and cutting out all the sugar in my life for 5 years is pretty difficult to do. So we want to have check-in periods. You want to break those goals into smaller chunks that we can just check in on progress. How are we doing toward that goal? Are we progressing toward it? Do we need to reestablish or revisit that goal? And then whether our goal is short-term, long-term, whatever those goals are, one of the most important things we want to include in our goal setting is accountability. Making sure that we have clarity of what we're going after, write it down, and then get people in your life and in your circle that you can share those goals with. They say that you're a reflection of the people that you spend the most time with. So who are the people closest to you in your circle that are helping you to accomplish those goals, that are holding you to be your best self, that are calling you out when you need to be called out and asking you, hey, I know this was important to you. How are you doing toward that goal? Is there anything I can do to help you get there? If you don't have those people around you now, those are the types of people you want to surround yourself with to really accomplish incredible long-term goals. So when it comes to accountability toward our goals, you want to have consequences, but you also want to have rewards. Make sure as you're mapping out those long-term goals with those check-in points along the way, that you give yourself credit for the progress you are making. Even if you realize you've taken 2 or 3 steps back as you're trying to go 5 or 6 steps forward, give yourself grace and give yourself those rewards when you do make progress towards your long-term goals. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It quite literally might be a marathon versus a sprint. So make sure that you give yourself credit, you give yourself rewards, you check yourself along the way, make sure you're making progress towards your goals, and then revisit them and reestablish them and tweak them if you need to so that you can continue toward building that long-term vision of the life you want to create. If you liked this video and found it helpful, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Southwestern Consulting, for more tips and more ideas on how to set short-term goals, long-term goals, build out your vision, and accomplish the life that you are meant to live.